All right, it's 11 o'clock, and so I'm going to go ahead and get started. Um, this is the introduction to technology, what you guys need to know as directors about the technology in your library. This is not going to be too much, hopefully, in the detail, but you do need to understand some of these concepts just so that you know what's going on in your library. So with no further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get started. And we're going to start talking about your ILS, the Integrated Library System that you have in your library. We're going to talk about what it is, and then I'm going to encourage you to if you're not already friends with your integrated library system, to make friends with it and with others who use your ILS, because those are some of your better networking choices. For quick questions, sometimes your peers are a better choice than the vendor itself. So hopping right in, the ILS is basically inventory control of your materials and your patrons as well. You don't usually consider inventory patrons as inventory, but it does help you keep track of what you have, what you own, and who has it. And that's the basic goal of your software, of that software system, your ILS. It's also customer relationship management. You've got a patron database in your ILS that is very useful for keeping track of who your patrons are, how many of them have cards, all this good stuff. There's all kinds of information you can get from your ILS in that. And then for some of you, it's also business control software, acquisitions and inventory. Here at Neckols, we don't use acquisition module for our ILS. We use the open source Koha system, which I know some of you also use out there in the rest of Kansas. But we don't use necessarily the acquisitions, the serial module. There are all kinds of modules that some of you may be using with your ILS, others don't, but you should know that quite often those modules are available. However, for a lot of my previous library I worked with, we used III as our ILS, Innovative Systems, and Millennium. And we could add modules, but they all cost about, I think the base cost was $12,500. Anything we wanted to add seemed like it cost $12,500. So we didn't use some of the modules simply because it wasn't worth it. With Koha, those costs don't exist. I mean, it's a free system, but they're also maybe not, for us, it's not quite to where it needs to be. It's not quite as robust as what we would need. Especially with the acquisitions module for Koha. So anyway, those are your bits.
I have a quick question.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Is the ILS now, is that like the system for keeping or the electronic system for keeping track of stuff, like your books and your checkout and stuff like that? Because that's actually something that my library doesn't have.
Oh, okay. And I can't tell who exactly is speaking.
Samantha from Elm Creek.
Elm Creek. Okay. So do you use paper, like card catalog?
We still have, well, we have cards in the book. There's no actual card catalog, actually. Right now, there's no actual list of what we have in the collection.
Okay. So yeah, the ILS would be the software that would manage all that for you. And the card catalog was previous, what people used to use, and then the ILS is kind of the software version of the card catalog.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that's what it was.
That's exactly what it is. So that's an interesting, I didn't know. I knew we have some libraries in Kansas that aren't yet automated, don't yet have a software ILS, but I didn't realize we had one here in Apple. So that'll be interesting as we go on. Thank you. Okay, so like I said, very briefly, we're going to talk about what your ILS is and what you want to do with it. The next thing we're going to talk about is troubleshooting. Most of you don't probably have a tech person right there 24/7 next to you. Some of you don't have a tech person at all, and that's leaves you as the person who is the tech guy at your library. So basically what I wanted to talk about with the troubleshooting, I don't want to go into a whole lot of detail, although if you go to the Moodle classroom and look at the lesson for this, there's considerably more detail there if you're interested. But I just kind of wanted you to understand how to report problems with your hardware, software, networks, that kind of thing. The least helpful thing, and I can't tell you how often I heard, I'd pick up my phone and check my voicemail, and it would be somebody at my previous library going, Robin, I got this error on my machine, and blah, blah, blah. Can you fix it? No, I cannot fix it. Without knowing the exact error message, that is impossible. So my goal here is to just help you not fix problems necessarily on your own, but how to communicate with someone who can fix your problem, whether you have a tech person at the library, whether your system consultant is your tech person, however that works. I want you to be able to identify and locate some network resources, how to learn a little bit more about your technology if you are interested, and how to contact your ISP, because quite frankly, there are a lot of things that your tech person can't do because it's a vendor issue. The ISP, internet's down or whatever, and you have to contact your ISP. So that is something I wanted to bring up as well. To start off with, troubleshooting is a systematic approach to solving a problem. It is no different than when you go into your kitchen and you are trying to figure out what to fix for dinner. You have to figure out what you have. You have to decide. You have to approach the problem in a systematic way, or you'll just sit there and stare at your refrigerator all night, which I've been known to do. But your troubleshooting computers and technology is really no different. It is just another problem, like every other problem that you deal with on a daily basis, especially as directors. You guys know you get all the problems, especially the big ones, up in your area. So a lot of people get intimidated by the idea of trying to figure out what's going on with computers. Basically, you just have to think of it as it's another problem, just like every other problem, and it's really no different than when your toilet stops up or your carpet starts to come up in the corner. You just have to figure out what's wrong, who you need to contact to fix it. Google is your friend for tech problems. A lot of times, who you need to contact to fix it is Google. It's what if you have a tech person on hand and you present the problem to them, if you give them enough information, the chances are the first thing they're going to do is turn to Google. It's just a really helpful way to find information. The problem is with Google, you have to be very, very specific. So if you get let's use the blue screen of death, which I haven't actually seen in a while, but I know is still out there, where you get a blue screen with a bunch of white text on it and your computer just stops, can't do anything except turn it off and turn it back on. That blue screen of death has an error code on it, and it's a hexadecimal error code, so it's like 00x 56789G4, something like that. Write that down before you turn your computer off and turn it back on. That kind of detailed information put into Google will tell you exactly what went wrong, and generally will tell you how to fix it. Whether you're confident enough to actually take the steps and fix it yourself, or you just want to pass that along to your tech person, is up to you. But those error messages that seem really odd and you don't understand, write them down, take a screenshot, record them in some way, because that is going to make your tech person love you. I promise. So, and that's what they'll put into Google to figure out what happened to your computer and how to fix it. And then for troubleshooting, you need to be able to locate and identify your network resources. By this, I mean your router, your modem, where the internet comes into your building and then splits off, your switches, those kind of technologies. You need to pretty much understand how those work, where they are, and what the normal state is. Especially with modems and routers, there are a lot of lights that blink and do that kind of thing. And if you know what they look like when they're working, and you glance at it one day and it's not blinking in the same manner, you've got some lights off maybe, then maybe you need to contact your ISP and figure out why the lights are off. A lot of times just power cycling, which is just unplugging the power cord, waiting 10 seconds and plugging it back in. A lot of times that's going to fix stuff on your network resources. It's also going to completely take your library down. You will have no internet for a few minutes. But if you didn't have any internet before, that's the big thing. But if you know where those are, when your tech person, when you call and you say, even if it's your ISP, my internet doesn't work, and they'll say, well, what does your modem look like? You can say, okay, well, the link light is on, but none of the other lights are on, or the link light is blinking orange. And you need to be able to know where your modem is. That's the device that is the internet comes into your library through. So that's probably will be owned by your ISP, possibly. And then your router, which is kind of an internal device. It's the next box in the link, and that gives you wireless. It gives you maybe some more connections. If you have a bunch of computers, you might have a switch, which is a kind of a long, narrow device that has a bunch of plugs, and you plug the modem into that, or the router into that, and then it sends the internet out to all of the other computers that are plugged into that that device. So those kind of things, whatever you have in your library, you need to identify them, find out where they are, and kind of just be aware of what they look like. One of the things that we do here at Nichols is we take pictures of the network resources, the modem, router, switches, and post them to a wiki. So I may have never gone to your library to see your network stuff, but if you call me and say we have no internet, I can look at that wiki and say, okay, well, your modem is a white box under your desk, and I can tell what it looks like, what I have a picture of it when it worked, and you can tell me whether it still looks like that. And if it doesn't, then we need to call your ISP. If it does, then we need to go maybe farther into the network and see what the next device looks like. So again, that's probably a little more technical than a lot of you need to get. I just want you to be aware that those resources are there in your library, and knowing what they are and what they can do is very, very helpful. And talking about troubleshooting again, this is kind of the flow chart. It's an XKCD cartoon. And it's kind of the flow chart of what we do when we fix computers. One thing I've noticed is people who are comfortable with technology, tech people, tend to click buttons really fast. And a lot of times you guys don't even see half the stuff we do, because we're just kind of randomly clicking buttons until we find something that works. And you think we went straight there and fixed it, and we didn't. We, played around. But we can do it really quickly because we're a little more comfortable with computers. This right here is that process. Basically, pick one at random, click it. Did it work? Yes, you're done. Did it not work? No. Well, then maybe you go to Google. So yeah, there's a link to this cartoon if you'd like to see it a little more clearly on the Moodle page. Talking about your ISP a little bit, that's your internet service provider. That is the person that you pay to bring the internet into your library. CenturyLink is a popular provider here in the Northeast Kansas. AT&T, Nextech is popular a little farther west. Whoever your ISP is, you should keep their information close at hand. Again, on the Moodle page, there is a troubleshooting cheat sheet. You can download it and fill it out. You do not have to turn it in. That is not anything I ever need to see. It is for you entirely, and it just kind of gives you a way to keep all of your tech people and tech information in one spot that you can file away and grab quickly. Okay, some tech resources for troubleshooting. For remote connections, if you have heard of us, if those of you in Nichols know, we use Screen Connect. There's LogMeIn. I know North Central Kansas system uses Screen Connect. And then TeamViewer is another one that basically lets us log in, see your machine as you're looking at it, and see what's going on. Those are really, really helpful for us. So if we ask you to download TeamViewer and let us know what your connection number is so that we can connect, or if we ask to put a little program, LogMeIn or Screen Connect on your machine, that is really, really helpful for us, because we can just pop right into your computer, see what's going on, and help you over the phone, which is always a lot faster than having to jump in a car and drive to your library to figure out what's going on. So that is something that I wanted you to kind of be aware of, that it's out there, and that your tech people may ask you to use. Like I said earlier, device lights, know what's normal on your networking stuff. On your computer, if your computer's got weird lights flashing, is that normal? Do you know? Just kind of be aware of what's going on. Cables, there are a lot of them coming out of all of your various machines. A lot of times, if you have an issue, say your monitor goes black, unplugging and replugging the cable will fix it. Sometimes it just kind of worked loose and got off. If that does not fix it, reboot your machine. If that does not fix it, call somebody. Call your tech person. But there are a couple of little things with cables. A lot of times just unplugging it and replugging it back in will fix the problem. So that might save you some time. In the Moodle class, I'm not going to go over these today, but in the Moodle classroom, there in the troubleshooting lesson, I talk about using the task manager to stop programs that get stuck, using a program called CC Cleaner to clean up, say, not necessarily malware, but maybe adware that's on your computer. If your computer is running really slowly, that is a program you can download and use to delete stuff that really isn't necessary, that might affect your computer's ability to run properly. And then again, I talk about using Google as a tech troubleshooting tool. I also talk a little bit about the command line and ping, only to make you aware that occasionally when we need to fix a networking issue, we'll ask you to open the command line and type in ping www.google.com or whatever. And I just kind of wanted to make you aware that that's there, and it's something that you may at some point be asked to do. And I don't want you to think it's some crazy difficult thing. It's actually fairly easy to do once you know how to do it. So okay. And I'm sorry, I just now noticed the chat. LogMeIn is also used by Seckles as well as North Central to remote login. So chances are your techs have access to some kind of remote software that will help them. Okay, we're going to talk briefly, hopefully, about security and policies. I want you to be able to use security software tools, and I'll talk about those. Be able to create and maintain secure passwords. Right at the moment, after dealing with the hacking that is going on, has been going on with Clow, my new rule for the Neckles office is if you make a password, it has to be 24 characters long. It's just got to be that hard to break. Not everything needs to be quite that secure, but we're getting hit pretty hard, and so we need to be more secure. Oh yes,
Robin, if you want a quick laugh, my husband's also a tech person, and he likes to use Klingon.
Okay.
So that is an option.
That is. I like sentences.
Yes, he likes those too.
Yeah. It used to be that you couldn't put spaces in passwords. You can now. They're considered a special character. So you can actually type out whole sentences with punctuation and everything. That's really tough to break, but fairly easy to remember. So, but Klingon is an option as well. That would be something that would be difficult to, you're not going to find too many dictionaries with that.
I hate having to get onto his computer.
I'm sure. I'm sure. We'll also talk about password managers a little bit, which might help your getting onto his computer, maybe, if he decides to use it. So yeah, those are all options. We're gonna talk about potential security and privacy threats via email in the network, and probably the only time you'll get yelled at this entire year will be that slide. I apologize now. Understand privacy and intellectual property issues, including filtering. And we'll talk a little bit about that. And then policies. You've got computer, internet, wireless usage, disaster recovery, the policies that you need to run make sure your technology works for you. So first off, for security tools, I would like to present to you Malwarebytes or Spybot Search and Destroy. There are links to both of those programs on the Moodle class site. They are things that you can download and run that will find viruses and stuff that I know most of us have antivirus software on our computers, but stuff gets through. Little, not as vital stuff that just like maybe pops up ads on your computers or something, that can get through your antivirus because it's working very hard to keep the bad stuff out. And sometimes it misses the not so bad stuff. This stuff catches that, and we'll get rid of it. You can use both to be really, really secure, but either one is great. The next bullet, KeePass and LastPass, those are both password managers. I used to use KeePass. I'm now using LastPass because it is browser-based, which means I can go to the LastPass extension in my browser, click on a site, it will open it and log me in automatically. That is unbelievably helpful, especially when you have passwords that are 24 characters long. Saves a lot of typing. So we use LastPass here at Neckles mostly, but some sort of password manager, having your passwords written down and taped to the back of your keyboard is common and completely unsafe. Anybody can get to those. Even having them kind of just stuck in a drawer is sometimes not a great idea, because if you ever leave a desk unattended, anybody can get into those. And especially with your Koha or your ILS passwords, those need to be protected, because your patron database that you have in your ILS is where we have to keep that safe. It's kind of one of our jobs as librarians. And if those passwords get out and anybody can log in, then that's a big problem. so keeping the password somewhere that is secure is handy. And just as a quick note, LastPass did get hacked last year. Because of their security, they didn't actually get any, they never got in. They got a few master passwords, and those people were informed, and the master passwords were changed, but their security is really, really good. And even when they got hacked and their information downloaded, it was unintelligible, and nothing was ever lost. Nobody ever lost anything. So we did all have to change our master passwords because just in case, they were able to unencrypt them sometime in the next few years. But they're really, really good at keeping their data secure. So yeah, yelling at you here, sorry. Don't click on random links. You all get emails every day that have links in them, and we just kind of happily click along. That is the #1 way to get a virus in your computer, is to click on a link that somebody sends you an email. If you have any question about a link, you think you might need the information, but you're not sure, forward the email to your local tech person, your system tech person, whoever, but ask, get another opinion. One of my big, I guess, wins at my previous library was when our HR person, who I thought was never going, she was just so scared of computers, and she just didn't, was not very comfortable with them at all, came to me and she said, I got this email and it wants me to click on this link to download some IRS forms that I might need for my, the HR part of her job. And she said, but it looks like it's a weird URL. And I went and looked at it, and it was linking to a server in Germany. The end of the URL was .de instead of .gov, which it should have been for the IRS. DE is a country code for Germany. And I was like, yeah, the IRS doesn't actually store their data in Germany. I can guarantee you that. That's a bad link. And downloading that stuff will give you a virus. And I would just delete the email and go on, and she did, and it was all good. So it's think before you click. And that's the last you'll get yelled at in this session. And finally, can you explain copyright and intellectual property issues to patrons? That's kind of outside the scope of this presentation to go into copyright and intellectual property, but as librarians, we kind of have a duty to help educate our patrons on what is and is not acceptable in copyright, and what intellectual property is, and why we might not want to facilitate people stealing it. We're not copyright cops, but we are. If somebody comes up and says, hey, I need help, copying this entire book on your scanner, we might want to say, that doesn't sound like that sounds legal, and I'm not comfortable helping you break the law. But if somebody just goes and copies an entire book on our scanner, it's not necessarily our job to jump in and arrest them either. So these are complicated issues, and certainly if you want to discuss them on the Moodle class board, I would be happy to do so, but they're really kind of beyond the scope here. I just want you to understand that that is part of the security landscape, is being able to know what is intellectual property, what is copyrighted, and how to protect it. Back to XKCD Comics. This is a password set of slides or panels here. And here's a pretty traditional caps, numbers, special characters, lowercase letters, all that good stuff. And that is would take about 3 days to crack this particular password. And it's hard to remember as a human. It's not an easy thing. In the bottom, however, you've got correct horse battery staple for random common words. Just making it that much longer gives you 550 years of work at 1,000 guesses per second. It's hard to guess, but fairly easy to remember. Maybe not this particular one, but you can come up with 4 common words. Or like I said earlier, a complete sentence where you have punctuation and capitalize and all the proper things that you do for writing sentences. Easy to remember, very, very difficult to guess. Honestly, the length is a lot more important here than the various special characters, as you'll see. As long as it is long enough, it will be pretty much impossible for modern machines to guess it within the operator's lifetime. So,
hey, Robin.
Yes.
We have a comment in chat from Kim saying that since libraries were given their own exemption in the 1976 copyright law, librarians must know how far the exemptions reach and how far they don't reach.
That's right. And fair use is also an issue that comes up in copyright in libraries, because it is actually legal to copy some copyrighted material, but those kinds of exemptions, the fair use and the various kinds of exemptions, are things that we should be aware of. So thank you, Kim. That is true. And I think I have a link, I'm pretty sure, in the Moodle class, again, on what librarians need to know about copyright. So if I don't, I will put one up by the end of this week. So, okay. So security policies. What are your filtering policies? Most of us get E-rate, which means we have to filter. I believe actually Kansas might have a requirement to filter beyond that as well, the SIPA stuff. But so most of us actually do filter. Not all, maybe, but the vast majority of us do. So what are your policies? What kinds of things do you filter? Do you know what's legal to filter and what isn't? Do you know, how do you allow adults to access material that may be caught by a filter but isn't actually obscene, like information on breast cancer or things like that? Those kinds of questions need to be answered in a policy that you have available for the public, whether it's behind your desk or on your website or whatever. Internet acceptable use policy should be available, pointing out what is and is not acceptable use. A lot of libraries have pornography as an unacceptable use. Many libraries have illegal activities, threatening and harassing behavior as unacceptable uses, and the acceptable uses are legal usage of your internet. Well, now I'm saying it probably should be an internet unacceptable use policy, but that's not how they phrase it. So internet acceptable use policy, including wireless. You can make rules about how people use your wireless in your library. Those can be different, or they can be the same as your desktop machines on your in your library itself. So computer acceptable use policy, what kinds of things can people use your computers for? Again, this is a good place to put that, kind of reminders of copyright issues. It's a good place to maybe decide whether or not you are going to allow people to just plug USB devices into your machines willy-nilly. Those can be infected and can quickly infect your entire library if you're not careful. the kinds of things that you allow and don't allow needs to be left here. This is a good time to bring up deep freeze. Many of you use that on your computers, and that is super handy in allowing, like, we don't have any policies necessarily in general in NECLS about not plugging in USB, because if the USB device does infect the computer, we can turn the computer off, turn it back on, and it's wiped clean. So if you've got mitigating software like that, you can ignore that. And disaster recovery, it's not if a disaster will happen, it's when the disaster happens. And those can be anything from huge natural disasters that, like we've had several tornadoes here in Kansas. Floods are happening in various places. Those kind of things are the big things. But, a technology failure, if you are in the middle of your workday and your ILS stops working, all of a sudden you can't access your information about your patrons and your materials, and you can't check anything out, that's a disaster. And it's a technology failure, and there should be some kind of process that you go through to mitigate that, to fix it. Those are the kinds of things that you would put in a disaster recovery plan. Figure out what is the most likely thing to happen, which honestly is the technology failures. Natural disasters happen, but not nearly as often as technology failures. The other thing I've noticed when I was doing some research about this, cars running into libraries is unbelievably common. I know, and she's not here right now, but one of your classmates, as I was coming into NECLS, she was remodeling from, she has a storefront library, and somebody just hit the gas instead of the brakes and ran right into her wall. That's a disaster. And it has technological implications because it took out a lot of her wiring that was in the wall. It was a real big problem, and she had to completely remodel her library, and it actually is better than ever now. But those kind of things do happen, and if you've sat down and thought about kind of the steps that you're going to take, you'll be much calmer about dealing with those kind of disasters. Okay, so why is my website so important? It is important to have a web presence. I've changed that from website to web presence in the advent of Facebook and social media. I'm not 100% sure. I still think that every library should have a website. I don't think it has to be as elaborate, because Facebook does many of the things that your website can do. It's a matter of what you want archived and what you want to save and that kind of thing. We do have a cloud service here in Kansas Libraries on the Web, and it does provide websites for free for any library in Kansas. The systems pay for it, so you don't have to. And once you have a website, whether it is a traditional website or if you decide to use Facebook or Weebly or some other kind of service, knowing how to update it is pretty vital. So that's your requirements there. Some must-haves for your web presence: up-to-date information. You should have your phone number, a link to your catalog, a list of the services that you provide, schedules, so your hours, maybe if you've got events coming, that kind of thing. Just, generally what's going on in your library. You should review your website fairly frequently for current information. One of the biggest indications of a non-credible website is the last updated post of 4 years ago. That's a big problem, and people will look at it and say, well, who knows if this is actually correct information because it hasn't been updated in 4 years. So review it on a fairly regular basis to update that and keep everything going. Board information. You should probably, I think the only requirement here is that you should probably have your, when your board meets, like, fourth Tuesday of the month at 7:30 or whatever, you do not necessarily have to put your board members or your minutes. Those have to be public, but they don't necessarily have to be on your website. I would in all cases, I would put when your board meets. The rest you can put up if you want. That's up to you. And then your hours of service and a map. Either a link to the Google Maps or MapQuest or whatever, but just some way that people can get a hold of you and find directions so easily. Clow is free WordPress hosting for Kansas libraries. It is a service that the systems pay for. It is managed through Neckles, and right at the moment I'm the person who does most of the managing for it. So if you have questions, you can certainly contact me. You can get custom domain names, so if you've got if you want to buy a domain name, they run about $15 a year, so they're not terribly expensive. You can purchase a domain name and we can set up a site for you on that domain. It does have some technical support. Your regional system techs can do basic technical support, help you with your website, that kind of thing. So just wanted to let you all know that that is there for you if you need it. Okay, we're going to finish up, I believe, with planning and talk about what kind of planning and how to plan for your technology needs. So what I want you to be able to do is develop and maintain a technology plan. For a lot of the state standards, a technology plan is required. And having one on file with your system is an excellent idea. It's actually a requirement here at Neckles. So you have to have one. So part of that is computer and hardware replacement plans, and I do have sample plans available on the Moodle site where it goes into a great deal more detail and gives you kind of a place to start. Oh, well, that wasn't, I was going to talk a little bit more about planning. The three things that I think are really required for a technology plan is one, a technology inventory. And this is going to be necessary for insurance purposes. If you ever get audited, they're going to require a list of everything you own, including your technology. So it's a good idea to have at least a list of all of your technology assets in one place that's easily accessible. Technology plan is as good a place as any. That can be as simple as the date purchased, the make and model, and maybe how much you spent. I mean, you don't have to have a lot of information. You can do a full table of date purchased, make and model, service number, where it is in the library, who uses it, what software is installed on it, what peripherals are, you can do full-blown technology lists, but it depends on what you need as a librarian. It should be as detailed as you need it and no more, basically. So I think if you're a larger library and you get audited on a regular basis, your auditors might have some requirements. But if you're a small library and you just need a list of things for if the building gets knocked down by a tornado or fire happens, a basic list of the assets you have, and that includes desktop machines, laptops, printers, servers if you've got them, scanners, phones, anything that you think might be you will want to replace in the case of a disaster, and that might be useful to know about. That should all be listed. That is kind of your openings, your helper. Sorry, your helper there for the hardware replacement plan. If you know what you have when you purchased it and who's using it, then creating a hardware replacement plan is a snap. The traditional 3 to 5 years is what you should probably figure for replacing a computer, depending on your budget and your abilities. For computers that are used hard, public computers, that kind of thing, you may want to go more on the 3-year side. For computers that are, however, less hard used, your staff machines and that kind of thing, you can probably go 5 years between updates. However, a 5-year-old machine is, this is what you expect people to do work on. So you have to balance that. But that's kind of your hardware replacement plan should take into account when your previous machines were purchased and what year in the next 3 to 5 you will be replacing pretty much everything in there. Printers don't always have to be replaced that often, but you need to have a plan to replace it because they do at some point fail and they do die. So those are definitely things that you need. So you need a technology audit. You need a computer and hardware replacement plan, and then the rest of your technology plan should be goals, things that you want to do in the next 3 years, which is kind of the traditional planning. Especially with technology, trying to look out 5 years is a little crazy. Things change so fast, but in the next 3 years, what do you want your library to do? And one of the things, since you just had your budget webinar just last month, one of the things you've probably looked at is a technology line item, what you spend on technology in a year. This technology plan basically gives a narrative to that line item. It tells the story of how your library will use those funds to move on to into the future. And so that can be as elaborate or as simple as you need it to be. For me, for technology plans, what I'm looking for is what is useful for you as a director. When I look through technology plans, what I want to see is just that you have thought about where you want your library to be in 3 years and how you're going to get there, and it's laid out. So there is that. Okay, so on the Moodle site, there are lessons 1 through 3, which go into more detail than I have been able to in this session. You can read through those. There is the PC troubleshooting cheat sheet that I mentioned at the beginning, not to be turned in. That is for you, but it really will be helpful, I think, for everybody. There are supplemental readings. Those are absolutely not required, but if you want to glance through them and see if anything looks interesting, you're more than welcome. And then there are a couple of forum discussions. One of them is go into the forum and talk about which ILS you use, whether it's no ILS at all for one of you, or it's Koha, or it's Voyager, or Primo, or whatever the brand is. Look through, tell us what yours is, and then find somebody else who uses it if possible. That person is a resource for you. You guys can share information, and you can, if you run into a problem and you're not sure what to do, that might be the person to call to say, hey, have you ever run into this? Is this something you know how to fix? So that's one forum discussion board. And then there's another discussion board on security where we talk about what is and isn't safe to click on. And I give you kind of an example of URL that's not so pretty, and talk about what it is. So if you guys have security questions, or if you want to talk about security in any way, shape, or form, that is a forum that you can participate in. Neither of those are assignments, but it is nice to get in there and talk about this kind of thing. And so that's there for you guys. The assignments that I have for this this session, there is a Learn One, Teach One assignment. Excuse me. And that is where you learn a new skill, whether that is, if you decide you want to play with the Mango database, which is available through the Kansas State Library, and then you teach someone, you're a staff member, a patron, somebody else, just learn something new and then teach that to someone else. That is one of the assignments that you can choose to do. Or you can do one of two website assignments. One of the website assignments is to come up with a schedule. Every other week I will post what's coming up in the library or something like that. The other assignment is to go through and find 3 libraries that have website features that you like, and kind of talk about maybe if you were to redo or redesign your website, what kind of functionality and features that you like from those 3 websites. There's more information on the Moodle class for those. Choose one of those. You do not have to do all 3. You only have to do the one. Somebody have a question?
Robin,
Mm-hmm.
this is Victoria at Oakley Public.
Okay.
On that last pass, is that software that you just download?
No, actually, well, it's a web service. It does have a browser plugin, so you do have to install, just like any extension. If you've ever used a browser extension, it's pretty much click and it happens. But it's not actual, like KeyPass is an actual software program that you download. LastPass is not. It is cloud-based, and it works, with the exception of the extension that you install into your browser. It's all online.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. No problem.
I have a question also.
Certainly.
I'm sorry, I had to step out. It says read lessons 1 through 3. Where do I find those? I'm sorry.
Those are on the Moodle page. So if you if you log into apple.necklace.org, there are short, like 1-page kind of, it talks about everything I've talked about here today, just maybe in a little more detail. So
okay, thank you.
No problem. No problem. Understandable. So I've hit the end of the slideshow. Is there anything else that you guys had questions about? We've got just a couple of minutes, but we can, if you would like to ask questions, now's a good time to do it.
Excuse me, I lost sound for a brief period of time.
Okay.
And did you say when the assignments are due?
Generally here in Apple, the assignments are technically due by next April, but the end of the month is so June 30th would be ideal. But we do give you, we don't count them. I mean, you can turn your assignments in any time and we'll count them. But if you get too behind, it makes for a really unpleasant spring next year. So June 30th would be the best. And I actually stopped looking at the Moodle site mid-July. So if you're going in there and posting stuff, I'm not necessarily going to be aware of it if you don't do it this month.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. No problem.
Robin?
Mm-hmm.
This is Kat Castor from Riley City Library.
Hi.
You said that the assignments are due. Do you want us to email them, or or do you want us? How do you want us to?
They're actually forums. And so what you would do for like the Learn One, Teach One is you would just let me know in the forum that you learned the Mango database and you taught it to your CERC staff.
Okay.
And that would be enough for that one. For the website ones, it actually has the directions on the thing, but again, it's just posting in the forum. These are the 3 websites I looked at, and in this website, I really liked the way the color scheme, and in this website, I really liked the way they had their navigation, their menu laid out, and in this website, I thought that it was way too busy, and I never want to see that again. However you want to, and if you're going to criticize a website, you might want to do it outside of Kansas, just out of
I'm just going to tell you that we really don't have a website. We are a portion of the city's website.
Okay.
We do have a Facebook page, and we're kind of limited.
Mm-hmm. What you could do is check out other libraries' Facebook pages and see what they do, on what kind of information they offer. Maybe there's ideas for you on using your Facebook page a little more effectively, or you really hate the way somebody uses their Facebook page. You could do that. That would be perfectly acceptable.
All right. Thank you very much.
No problem. I like the background music.
Sorry.
That's awesome. Okay. Well, that was probably a good 20 seconds of dead air. So I'm guessing that there are no more questions. So if you guys do come up with anything, think of anything throughout the month, please feel free to email me anytime. You all have my email. I am constantly shooting emails at you guys. So please feel free to email me. I will keep an eye on the discussion boards and respond throughout the month. So if you have questions, you can post them there too. Otherwise, I will let you guys go and enjoy this beautiful sunny day.
Thank you all for being here, and thank you, Robin, for presenting.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Robin.
Thanks.